because we've seen some very significant shifts occurring in the industry in the way AI is governed and in the way AI is delivered in a very relative or in a relatively short amount of time. So traditionally, AI governance has really focused almost entirely on risk control. So again, think about human-led committees, councils, static PowerPoints, full of guardrails. I'm sure you've seen some of them. And so I would say that the dominant playbook reinforces that approach by promoting centralization. Again, I still see a lot of consultancy firms promoting centralization as the only way to basically contain costs and risk. And so in most companies, we see that AI was or still is actually mostly delivered through a central team or through corporate AI expert teams. Now, the reality though, and you can see that on this slide, is that AI adoption is already heavily decentralized. We see AI entering organizations through every open door: product, marketing, HR, operations, sales. Everyone is basically experimenting, whether that's with open source models or browser plugins or no-code agents, low-code, everyday tools like Microsoft. And so just as a proof point, Gartner recently conducted a survey of approximately 500 senior technology leaders, which also included CIOs. And so what they actually found was that only a minority of AI capabilities are built by their IT teams. And so the rest is basically emerging at the edges. So it's led by marketing teams, HR, operations, and so on. And so nearly every team is experimenting, tools are proliferating, and costs are sprawling. And this is all happening fast, and it's happening at scale, and it's often happening invisible to any traditional control structures. And so what we see is that many of our clients or many corporate AI leaders in general are realizing that there's no way to control or centralize this movement anymore. And I would even argue that centralization of AI is an illusion because it's simply too slow, it's too rigid, and it's especially blind to what's actually really happening. And again, centralization to me is again resulting from the failure to recognize AI as a general purpose technology that is also becoming heavily democratized. And so that's a new environment, and it's actually introducing a whole new layer of complexity for mostly AI leaders or corporate leaders. And so I would say, I would summarize probably the challenge is now about how to give freedom within guardrails and how to make sure that what happens at the edges, and at edges I mean as opposed to corporate, so from a functional perspective or business unit perspective, so how to make sure that that is scalable, that it's interoperable, and how to make sure that it's safe, while at the same time trying to avoid kill innovation or the very experimentation that is actually driving adoption. And so our perspective is that what companies need is not more central control or not more human-led approvals or checkpoints or committees, but actually something we call orchestration. What do we mean by that? We mean automated, embedded governance that really can flow as fast as the technology itself, because we try to automate everything except for governance, basically. And so that's why on the next slide, you can see it, we've built a framework, which we call the GATE framework. And it shifts the focus of AI governance from central and from human-led control to that automated embedded orchestration or governance that is basically automated, embedded in the flow of work, and can, again, flow at the same speed as AI itself. The essence of that framework is to make sure that everyone in the organization who wants to experiment with AI can do that safely and can do that effectively. So that means making sure that everyone understands the rules, making sure that everyone can build experiments in ways that can actually grow and scale instead of becoming dead ends, which we often see, and also making sure that everyone knows how to use AI responsibly with guidance basically built into their day-to-day workflows and tools, and making sure that they can get started easily. Think approved data, approved templates, approved connectors, or any examples they can reuse rather than having to reinvent the wheel.